So I've been emailed a dozen times asking if I was going to cover this story. This story has been so big that national news channels have been covering it. I saw ABC talked about it. So I'm going to talk about it too. I am in a Facebook group called Hike the 4,000 Footers of New Hampshire, and the other day I came across this wild post. This post was made by Andy Villain, who is the Assistant General Manager at the Cog Railway. Today on the Cog Railway, we have brought down over 20 ill-prepared hikers from the summit of Mount Washington. Many were hypothermic and without gear even near suitable for the conditions. Most had no idea that summit services would be unavailable and the state park was closed for the season. A few indicated that it was their first hike ever. So this situation happened on October 25th. And right now, when people look out their windows when they're driving around town, it may still seem like fall. Like this is the view right in front of me right now. But up in the mountains, up at higher elevations, we are for sure seeing winter conditions right now. That day, on October 25th, the temperature up at the summit of Mount Washington was around 15 to 18 degrees Fahrenheit. And with the wind chill, it felt like it was 0 to -5 degrees. And there were a couple inches of snow that day, about 3 to 4 inches of snow. Here's a live look at Mount Washington from this morning, and then also, here are some recent pictures that the Mount Washington Observatory have been posting from the summit. So that day on October 25th, the COG was doing one of their regular typical trips up to the summit when some crew from the COG noticed hikers were in distress. The hikers that they saw up at the summit were very underprepared to hike Mount Washington that day. Some had sneakers on, some had non-waterproof layers of clothing that were already soaking through. Some were shivering, some were in the early stages of hypothermia, and some said that this was their first hike ever. Some hikers said that they didn't think that they could make it down off the mountain themselves, and by looking at them and assessing the situation, Andy from the Cog Railway felt the same. So they made room in the Cog Railway and they put these 20 hikers in the COG. Some were in the locomotive cabin where they cranked the heat up as high as it could go to try to help the ones that were in the stages of hypothermia. And these hikers got lucky because the very next day is when the Cog Railway suspended their trips to the summit of the mountain. So from sometime in October to sometime in May, the Cog doesn't actually go all the way to the summit. It just goes to the 4,000 foot mark, and they end their trips at the Wambeck station. So people who take the COG can only go up to that point, hang out, and then go back down. So these hikers that were at the summit definitely expected more summit services to be available, but that's just not the case this time of year. New Hampshire State Parks made a statement that the summit services were closed and there's no place at the summit of Mount Washington to seek shelter. I do remember seeing this somewhere, but I couldn't confirm the source or anything. But I did read that a hiker had actually planned to call an Uber once they got to the summit of Mount Washington. Maybe they thought the Uber could go up the auto road and get them, but that's not the case. The auto road does have a service called the Hiker Shuttle where they will take hikers back down, but it's not something you can rely on. I don't think it's in operation right now. I think the service is ended for the season, but even when they are in season, it's first come, first serve, no reservations, and they can stop the service at any point. So it does clearly state on their website that you cannot rely on this and you should always be prepared to hike down off the mountain yourself. So it is said that about a quarter of these 20 hikers probably would not have made it down off the mountain themselves. It's really good that the COG was there and able to help them. It's not the COG's job or responsibility to rescue hikers, but they have come and helped and offered their services so much that they have probably saved countless lives. If the COG wasn't there and able to assist that day, there probably would have been several much more complex rescue missions that would have had to happen, and that can be very dangerous for the rescuers involved. I know it's always a big debate on if people being rescued need to pay or not. In this case, I did see that every hiker that rode the Cog Railway down did have to pay the typical $61 fee to ride the Cog. A quick break before I get into the next 2 wintry condition rescue missions that also happened that week. I do want to thank the sponsor of this video, Element, because without Element, these videos would not be possible. Element is the best sugar-free electrolyte drink mix available on the market, and today I want to remind you that the chocolate salt and the chocolate caramel flavors of Element are so good when you mix them with hot water. That way you don't only have an amazing tasting hot drink that's gonna keep you warm on the trail, but you also have a drink that's packed full of electrolytes and will keep you hydrated. If I know I'm going on a hike that's gonna be really cold, I will actually prepare my tumbler full of a hot chocolate Element drink ahead of time. And by the time I get to the summit, it's usually still hot and it's so nice to have. Sometimes in the winter, hikers tend to not drink or hydrate as much as they normally would, but it's just as important. You want to get those electrolytes in so you can be hydrated and avoid those muscle cramps, the fatigue, the brain fog, and those dehydration symptoms. You can head to drinkelement.com/NewHampshire to learn more about Element. And also, when you use that link and make a purchase, you'll get a free sample pack also thrown in with your order. And that sample pack is going to have 8 free sticks of Element's most popular flavors. So again, that's drinklmnt.com/NewHampshire. So the day after the 20-person rescue on Mount Washington, there was actually another rescue in the same place involving a 20-year-old hiker from Rhode Island. He called 911 at about 7 p.m. when he was 0.3 miles away from the summit. He was on the top of the Tuckerman Ravine Trail, and his headlamp and his phone were both dying. He was uninjured, but he was not prepared to spend the night on Mount Washington, especially if he stopped moving. The conditions out there were whiteout conditions. It was very windy. The snow was blowing everywhere, low visibility. It was about 21 degrees, but with a feels like temperature of 3 degrees. So once they learned about the hiker's situation and the conditions that he was in, they started the rescue mission. There was someone from the Mount Washington State Park at the summit of Mount Washington who responded. He got in his truck and he drove to kind of where the top of the Tuckerman Ravine Trail was. He sat there in his truck with his headlights on to kind of hopefully guide the hiker towards him. The hiker continued hiking up the trail. He was following the cairns and he made his way towards the truck. It was around 8:30 when the hiker spotted the headlights, got to the truck. He got inside and was evaluated and warmed up and eventually driven back down to the base of the mountain. It is said that the hiker had done his research prior to this hike, but he was still underprepared for the conditions, especially the wintry conditions that he experienced above the tree line. Also on that weekend, on October 25th, there was a 17-year-old hiker that needed to be rescued from the Old Bridle Path, which is on the Franconia Ridge Loop. This hiker had slipped on a wet section of trail about 1.7 miles away from the trailhead. He suffered a leg injury and could not continue hiking out on his own anymore. The call came in for help at 10:20 p.m. Rescuers got to the trailhead at 11 o'clock and made their way to the hiker by 11:45 p.m. 20 rescuers responded to this mission, and they used what's called a rescue wheel to help get this hiker back down to the trailhead. They got back at 1:25 in the morning, where the hiker's family met them there. After this incident, New Hampshire Fish and Game wanted to remind everyone to have proper footwear and proper light sources on their hikes, and to also use caution on the trail because it can be slippery, icy, and snowy at any point, especially this time of year. As always, I definitely want people to watch my videos and try to take something away from it. If there's one thing I want to get across in this video, it's that it is winter up in the White Mountains. So definitely be prepared, do your research ahead of time, make sure you're aware of what the forecast is, pack warm gear, have your 10 essentials, and make sure you have enough stuff to keep you comfortable and safe if you have to spend a little longer than you thought out in the mountains. It is great. From what I know, everyone in these stories ended up okay, but sometimes that's not the case. So I just really hope everyone hikes safe, packs what they're supposed to, and make good decisions. If the weather is getting bad, please turn around and try again a different day. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.